Haley is a dick.
Before doing so, leaping right into the heart of the moment, I'd like to thank you all for being here. It means a lot. You guys have heard me say it. You've hopefully heard my authenticity and the fact that I really do mean it. This hobby is fantastic. It is a bit of nostalgia. It's all of the wonderful moments, learning the new characters, the new coteries, and you all as a whole and individual. So thank you, thank you, and thank you. And as we prepare to leap fully into this maw of madness that is this world of Kindred, I'd like to ask, what questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners would you like to round off?
Everyone's new, right?
For the most part, yes. Yes. Everyone is fresh-ish.
Yeah, this is 2 months after that whole yacht situation.
Any other questions? Excellent. Our lovely silence. And I'm glad that you all did read the quick blurb and letting us know that where we are, putting that in your minds. It's always a good start. So that being the case, with those facts and that silence out there, stating that we are reading out of the same book, if not the same page, chapter, and verse, I'd like to say that this is officially Steel Hearts, Rusted Souls. This is the first of our episodes together, but it is in fact the epilogue for season 5, the tragic madness and treacherous murder of the Mermaid's King. And as noted, we are picking up 2 months after the fracas on the yacht, the lies on the lakeside, the mounting war efforts to tear the Anarchs a new one, splitting them in half, which was the goal of that. Blood calls to blood, and power calls to power. Like, in effect, calls to like. A success breeds another, and a failure oftentimes breeds another. We get good at what we do because that is all that we know, and we have to have a care as to what we actually do, because what we put into the world we will receive a multiplicity of times, exponentially over and over. And the Anarchs of Gary have put into the world a do anything, cross any taboo, burn any bridge to get to their goals. And 2 months ago, those roosters came home. Those chickens took flight. 2 months ago, there was an assassination attempt on the second most beloved, the second most influential Anarch residing in Gary. Alicia has a pedigree that is hard to argue with. Her rebelliousness, her standing against all that the tower might be, is a twisted tale. She was capped as a flower, or more accurately, a rose beneath a glass by the beast. She was chosen because of some twisted sense of love. She was a kept creature, simply there to be beautiful, by the former prince Modius. She was his light in the dark when he had all but given up hope of ever being anything, of ever having Gary return to anything. Because unbeknownst to our modern understanding of what Gary is, Gary at one point in time was the fastest growing city in the entirety of the Midwest. It was an overnight success. It was lightning in the bottle. It was the rising competitor to Chicago itself, not just in terms of population, not just in terms of new wealth, just in commerce, in business, in connections to the people, and in sheer audacity. It rivaled Chicago. It was called the Magic City. It was the place where dreams became reality on the back of American muscle. It was the epitome of what being a Midwesterner was about, boldly seizing onto your future with both hands. And then things happened, as they always do. His challenge to Chicago's primacy was cut short. It has been home to civil unrest in literal physical terms as well as socioeconomically. It has been a city that has warred with itself until there was not much of itself left. And even then, it didn't die. Even then, it held on and began climbing its way back up and out of the hole it dug itself into. All the while, Chicago picking at its edges, knocking it further and further into that foxhole, knocking it further and further into the dark, until Chicago finally stood with its foot on its neck, trained it like a beaten animal. And even with Chicago relaxing its pressure, even with Chicago removing all tenterhooks of control, Gary was already beaten. Gary was already all but destroyed. Left alive enough to realize that it would never reach the prominence it once held. Left alive enough to know that there were worse things for it. And even beat, even destroyed, it refuses to go into those worst things. It refuses to outright die. Gary is a ghost town. Both figuratively and literally. The spirits of the dead refuse to leave. There are buildings where souls have ceased to be and refuse to move on. Their bodies discovered years, months, decades after being planted in those buildings, in those out-of-the-way places. One of the most glaring points of knowledge one can have about Gary is don't stop if you're driving through. If it's after dark and you're driving through Gary, don't run out of gas, don't stop the car, keep moving, because if you stop in Gary, you very well may end in Gary. At least that's how it is from the outside. At least that's how everyone knows of Gary currently. But Gary is a survivor. It hangs on, it claws on. And speaking of those things that survive despite the odds against them, despite all of the, trauma of the night, we begin with Baron Stevens. For the first time since the many assassination attempts against her and against Alicia, since the many assassination of characters that have been carried out and rumor and gossip, is holding a mandatory rant. There's not been a actual official rant in Gary in over a year. There's been small cells meetings, small groupings of individuals coming and going and doing things and causing all manner of problems for themselves and the world around them. But it is a mandatory thing in the current meritocracy of Gary. You get what you give. You want something better for yourself? Earn it. And the only way to earn it is with a sense of social and civil responsibility. There are no free rides left in Gary. There's clearly a larger plan afoot, but under the meritocracy, the only way to find those things out, the only way to survive those things is to invest your time, efforts, and energy. The only way to get that freedom that everyone clamors for is to earn it through service. Small things get small things. Big things get big things. And so a mandatory meeting spread amongst the width and breadth of the rabble, a mandatory rant being held at the last seat of power for the Anarchs of the Midwest. There have been several meetings along the way. Baron Stevens, of course, keeps business hours where any upstanding member of Gary or the Anarch movement as a whole can meet her at the dive at any time. The open secret, the dive, the biker bar, that is her seat of power. But she's also taken to occasionally popping into Salacious. She's also taken upon herself to make appearances, to be part and parcel to the people. Unlike Juggler, she hasn't done any large, over-the-top parties to rail against the night, all rebel without a cause, all sound signifying nothing. Everything that she's done thus far has been for the actual maintenance and care for the city. So as word spreads, everyone knows to meet, everyone knows to gather, everyone knows this is the thing. This is the moment where all of the rumors either are proven true, that she really is only out for herself, or they are proven in fact deadly false. So everyone knows to get to Inland Steel over on Watling. It's just north of the airport. It's out past the dunes. It's literally right off the lake. It is a place where Juggler felt secure in throwing rants and raves and all things and various other situations. It's an open secret that it is the hub of the Anarch power. And the question as to how you all get there is what lays before you. There's, of course, several ways. 912 up and over. You can circle through 20 down and around and then cut back over 912. You can take the streets once you get past the airport. There are all manner of ways to get there and all times of getting there. The question is, how do you?
I don't know how Haley gets there, but I know that she's at least 5 minutes late.
Well, that's a good thing. It can be. Especially being fashionably late is all the rage these days. And with Haley's place over on Connecticut, she's only a block and a half, 2 blocks from the expressway. She's only, it would take her 20 minutes by the expressway, 30 by the streets to get there. Especially being if she's going to take the streets, she'd have to go all the way west to Kennedy and up Hush and down over to connecting back to Kennedy and back to Michigan and then down and around Block. It's a pain in the ass taking the streets, but she knows she can. And with her gaggle of good time boys and girls, is that what she does? Is she spending how does she start her evening?
Are we just assuming everyone is at Hunger 1 for the evening?
Yeah.
She probably feeds anyone.
Now, does she use one of her near and dear, oh so lively, or does she find something hot and fresh. After all, with her place, again, there in Connecticut, she's not that far from most of anywhere. There's the several churches near at hand. There's the bank. There's several restaurants and nightlife. What little bit of nightlife there actually is on this side of town. Over 20 heading in the general direction of the ranch. She can also, perhaps swing east towards Salacious, or maybe swing into the Devil's Den. After all, it is a multi-purpose crowd night. There are nights where you know that there are predominantly men dancing, and then nights where you know there are predominantly women dancing. And it's always a good time if you can find the right altered individual.
Let me check here. Our herd isn't super large, so might as well hunt for something. If I'm going to be forced to do something, it might as well be fun, and I might as well not be sober. Was I muted?
No, you were not. I was handling something. That being the case, go ahead and roll the approximation of her hunt. She's a consensualist, right?
No, she's a siren.
Oh, you're sure? Go ahead and give it the approximate with the charisma subterfuge. Now, is she hunting at the Devil's Den? Is she going to Salacious, or is she just going to find many other open, out-of-the-way spots to grab something for the evening?
Which of the clubs offers the best fare on a, in a general sort of sense?
In a general sort of sense, if you want free range, that is definitely the Devil's Den. If you want creme de la creme with able to meet all of those crunchy kinks in the mind, that is definitely Salacious. Of course, the last time you sat with Tyven, it didn't quite hit all the right spots. He is no silk, to say the least.
Well, we will stay away from him then. And we'll go to the other place.
Excellent.
Alright, let me load my little tiny hunting dice pool here.
Is that it? That's all you got?
Yeah, just the 10 dice.
It's a little low, and you almost didn't make it. Fate has various things in mind for you. So, being part of the party circuit, it is easy for you to all but ferret out where the liveliest prey are, and almost everywhere that you are. So, the bridal shower, which most people would immediately glom onto, doesn't quite do it for you, because they're publicly intoxicated. They're gone off of liquor and White Claw, and occasionally you're sure maybe one of them may have taken a toke or something else, and that something else being weed. They're not quite deep enough for you, not quite scratching that portion you need scratched. You need functioning addicts. You need addicts that, if they're not awake for 72 hours, they're not partying. And it takes you an eye blink to find them in the crowd. They're there at the back. They're friends with most of the strippers, most of the cocktail waitresses. They're friends with the bartenders, and are so altered that no one that knows them or has met them in the last 2 to 6 years has ever seen them not be inebriated. So there's always a sliding scale of what you're going to get. And it's part of the charm. They're wild, they're free, they're very giving, and they're, good for business, because they get people drinking, they get people partying, they spend far more than they could possibly ever make. So you blend in with them. One conversation leading to the next, one exchange leading to the next, and you're watching as several less than legal substances enters their being, and that voice at the back of your head counting down to when they're just about perfectly mellowed, soaked in all of their drinking, drugging, and abuse of themselves. They're nearly perfectly cooked. Roasted to perfection. And speaking of roasted to perfection, let's slide alphabetically down from Haley. Knowing that you have to meet the Baron, Nikki. Knowing that this is the first official all thing, as it were, for the Anarchs of Garia. How does she get to the meeting?
Does she still have her car?
Yeah.
There's no objections to that. That's how she gets there.
So she rises for the evening and just hops behind the wheel of the car and heads towards the meeting, heading toward the rent.
Yeah.
Okay. No preparations or anything that she's doing. She's just.
I mean, she's going to get prepared. She's going to get dressed. I mean, her usual leather attire. But I mean, other than that, no. I mean, she's not. I mean, she's not going to do anything flamboyant.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So the drive there, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll a Wits plus drive or Wits plus streetwise standard DC. And while that roll is happening, Anaya, there are several hundred different ways to resist, to rebel, to stand against things. It's one of the reasons why your sire chose you those many months upon months ago. There's an impossibility being part of the influencer set that you have not been made aware of the many things that have happened throughout the city. The changing of hands. People were hinting that their Camarilla, the tower, was coming in. And then all of a sudden, no, that's not the case. The many traumas and dramas throughout the city. The martial arts dojo that was there downtown across from the bank closing up. The depot disappearing. All of those things that people are complaining about filters in and flits across her feed, her news feed, as it were. Knowing that tonight is the night, put up or shut up, to be part of the meritocracy, and it is a mandatory thing of showing up. How does Anaya get there? What does Anaya do?
Anaya's typical night when she gets up, of course, is first social media has to be checked. So she opens up her phone while she is doing her makeup for the night. She wants to make a good impression with this person, pulling her hair up in a high pony, putting on something cute, but making sure that it won't get ruined if something bad happens, because she doesn't quite know this group of people, what might happen. So the few bits of information that she could get from those like herself after her sire left was be prepared for anything, I guess. So she puts on her little throwback Juicy Couture velour outfit in black and checks her social media and checks her other social media, the more like, I guess, kindred centric like pages that she knows that other anarchs are running, but it takes a lot to find them unless you know where to look. So she's looking for those things, and then heading out the door, she remembers she hasn't eaten anything, so trying to figure out about maybe how long she has before she has to absolutely be there. One of her favorite spots is the Devil's Den, so she's gonna go there, getting in her G-Wagon and heading towards the Devil's Den.
heading to Devil's Den is always an interesting thing, because there's where she's at, not far from Reed Park and just off of 53, getting west across the city, crossing the expressways, is an interesting thing, because months ago it was like living in Beirut during the late 70s and early 80s. Everyone was armed. There were police everywhere. There were guards everywhere. There was an influx of state troopers and state police, along with bolstering and this explosion of the GPD. There were more cars present on the street than there had ever been. So even though things have quieted down, the state police aren't tearing through the town anymore. There aren't as many roadblocks set up and traffic stops set up on the expressway. It is still definitely a fraught thing making it across 65 and across the 90 to get west to Devil's Den. It's one of those things that sits at the back of the mind, like, oh, not tonight, not tonight, not tonight, not tonight. And it's still there, even though most of the signs dissipated. The G-Wagon being what it is definitely a vehicle that stands out. People can't help but notice it. Not just because of the color, but this is Gary after all. The last high-end vehicles seen in the area were typically up off the lake in that, that little nearly gated community right there off of Miller Woods and up near Marquette Park. You stand out, to say the least. So cutting across the expressway, cutting across the city to get to Devil's Den, you know that you've crossed several people's radars. You catch a few people looking. Some people even turn to try to take a selfie as you pass, trying to time it so that it looks as if they are taking a picture with their car, or just punch bucky sort of things that kids do. Even though the kids in this case are 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds and 50-year-olds. It's all about mentality. It's all about mental maturity. And as you pull into the lot at Devil's Den, you see the usual bridal showers. You see the usual Caprice classics. You see the usual bubbles from the early 90s and mid 90s, the Luminas and what have you in the lot, the diehards. The beautiful thing about Devil's Den is that it is in fact right off of 20, right off of East Dunes Highway. It owns and sits atop the space there. There's about 1/8 of a mile to the nearest building. It gives it a place of prestige. It's not as fancy, it's not as highbrow as Salacious, but it is a place where finding something to scratch that itch is far easier than it should be. Almost as if, it was designed with kindred in mind. Gesticulating, gyrating flesh and people in various states of inebriation, able to easily overlook and ignore certain things. And speaking of overlooking and ignoring certain things, Belial, it is the night. It is time to show and prove. It is time to pay your just dues, to continue with the freedom that you have enjoyed thus far. Having recently become part of this thing that exists around you, with your sire sinking her hooks further and further into the business, with her pushing for more flesh, more dancers, more donors, as she calls them. Though they don't realize that they are donors, though they aren't trained to be donors, they aren't affected like many of the, what she calls, blood freaks, the blood dials, who give willingly and have an idea, have an inkling that there are other things out there tonight. Those gothy, emo individuals who like the idea of self-harm visited upon them by others. No, she just wants a party environment. She wants things beautiful. She wants more and more. And there's a portion of you that realizes that part of her aim clearly has nothing to do with your well-being, even though that's a factor. Part of her aim seems to be becoming the Pepsi to something else's Coke. She's clearly comparing the night's receipts. She's clearly comparing the people that move in through the door to somewhere else, and you still haven't quite put your finger on what is she comparing it to. What are the metrics that she's using for your patrons? And as all of those thoughts are circulating for you, you first catch sight of Haley entering into the building and mixing and mingling. And you catch sight through the security cameras of Anaya making her way into the building. The question stands, how are you preparing for getting to the meeting? How are you preparing for getting to the ranch? It is tonight, after all.
First impressions are everything. So, best possible suit that I can buy. Very tailored. We'll skip the crown for the evening, as I don't want to appear too important to somebody I have been told is rather important. Likely some nice cologne. Likely blush of life, if I can. Just to appear as if I am with it, when inside I am quite confused.
Excellent. Sounds like a plan. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your rouse for your blush? And with the preparations for the evening moving apace as they are, your hair being immaculately snipped and clipped and styled, your suit being rolled free of all potential debris, and knowing that there are other kindred present in your establishment, kindred that you've met, dealt with, and associated with on the night of the ranch, is there anything else that you might be doing in preparation?
I don't think there would be anything else I would be doing. Just try to make sure that I arrive on time, but keeping an eye on those visiting, as they haven't fully garnered my trust yet.
Okay. So preparing to head out as they're entering into Devil's Den and ensuring that your ensemble for the evening is as immaculate as you need it to be and want it to be. You never want to outshine the master, but you want to be close enough that they consider you, if not an equal, at least someone of note. And then at the back of your head, in the pit of your stomach, between every facet of you, dancing between the electrons making up your flesh, there's a voice whispering across your skin. There's a crawling at the back of the mind. You need to feed. It's rude going anywhere to a party such as this without feeding. It's presumptuous of you to think that you can stave off what will happen. And what will happen is anyone's guess. Because thus far, your sire has assisted with your feeding. Your sire has thus far made it easier to feed than anything else. They've pushed you into certain predispositions. They've guided you to dine in a certain way with a certain class. After all, you are in fact a member of the Roses. You are royalty. You were chosen because of your grasp on business, because of your calling towards entertaining the masses and understanding that how you do a thing is far more important than what it is that you do. And her voice your voice, its voice, is crawling, scratching, and demanding satiation. It's not a yell, it's not a scream, it's not a stomach tightening grip on you, but it is demanding, as always.
I'd like to look around and see what the other two that I've noticed are doing. And see if I can pick up on anything that clues me in that they are feeding.
Haley, what's your charisma plus stealth? And Anaya, same question.
5 for me.
Anaya's not stealthy, but I have a 3 for charisma.
Okay. All right. So as you take them in, Belly, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus subterfuge, or your wits plus insight? Is it a hunch, or is it an understanding of what you've experienced thus far to pick up on any signs that they are in fact, much like your sire wants most kindred to know, Devil's Den is the place that you go for a decent economical feeding? Haley's a party girl, so her being, as your sire says, one of the lower growing roses, it's suspected that she's mixed and mingling with the party crowd that comes in and spends an ungodly amount of money to simply take up space. Anaya, your sire hasn't really said much about, but they are in fact similarly popular enough. And they're mixing and mingling with the crowd, but they're not otherwise doing anything that would make them stand out. You recognize them, you know of them, you've seen them on multiple occasions, and they are here once again on the night where you all are supposed to be somewhere else.
I'll buy them a drink. I'll stop by my bartender and offer them something on the house. And I will do my best to ignore my hunger and try to make my way there first.
So, Haley, Anaya, those cordials heading your way, those offers for what might wet your whistle heading your way, what are you all up to? Is there...
Anaya is very much enjoying the attention, obviously, but being a siren, it's more, she's looking for something maybe a little specific, somebody that's very, they know who she is, they're gushing over her a little bit. That's what she wants.
That's always a good thing. Attention, all attention is good attention, and as you receive a little attention from both the target of your potential feeding as well as from the bar staff, courtesy of Belial, the owner and operator of Devil's Den, with Haley having her sup, having her sip, is there anything that she would request? As the waiter and waitress that makes their way over offers a drink courtesy of Belial.
I don't know. What would Haley get? Probably something really dumb like a sex on the beach or some sort of fruity girl drink.
Oh, but of course, says the waitress as she makes her way away. Not sure whether that was a purposeful dig or an incidental dig. You're not even sure whether it's a dig at all. Some people just don't know how to. And off she goes. As you all settle into the carousing under the Devil's Den, as the evening grows long in tooth, as it always does, because time is the thief of always. Having promptly arrived at the ranch, Nikki, there are several things that don't add up. The meritocracy, according to everything that you found, according to your last exchange months ago with Baron Stevens, is all about doing things new. It's all about everyone earning their place through their action. No free ride, but also you get what you give. Yet here you are, just at the very edge of what Gary is. You're past the airport. You are out there on the very hoary edge of what Gary is. If you look across, well, down 60 and across, in the Still Overpass, you see the Yacht Club, one of the last vestiges of the old money that moved to Gary for the opportunities. All around you, north and west and east, are the various tracks where the ships were unloaded, where the steel was loaded onto train cars bound for places elsewise, meaning Chicago, meaning Indianapolis, meaning everywhere and anywhere but here. And even at this late stage of the collapse of Gary, they're still active. There's a few cars on the track, not nearly as many as that were flying out of here during the earlier part of last century, but it's still problematic to your way of thinking. Having survived the collapse of several empires, having watched several world powers become nothing more than whipping boys for the other nations of the world, having watched the rise of all manner of despots, this strikes a chord all too familiar, because in the newness of this regime, in the newness of what the Anarchs are in Gary, with your agreement sitting there at the back of your mind, being here in the last established place of the former Anarch movement center of power, causes the hairs to stand up at the back of your neck. Because while you moved and parked and got in here promptly, there are still cars, vehicles, SUVs, vans, trucks, motorcycles of all sorts already here, already pulling in. And it's hard that even despite your present life, even despite who you are now, not having a soldier's eye for certain things, here in this place with literally 2 roads to get here, there's only 2 roads that would allow you to get here. Easy to keep track of who comes and who goes. There is, of course, the waterway, but no one would be foolish enough to try that, not in this day and age. Even a kindred falling into this portion of Lake Michigan is surely nothing more than fish food. And yet, here you all are. Nothing but air and opportunity. Do you make your way into the building, or do you get cold feet?
No, she's gonna show up for a rant. She has to make a showing. I mean, she's apprehensive, but she's gonna go. She's just gonna be a little bit on guard.
It's funny. You would expect your sixth sense, your pattern recognition to kick in to have you mindfully present and even warier than usual. Yet, the moment that you walk in, the moment you cross the threshold into the space, you see the several small groups and cadres and coteries speaking amongst themselves. There's a head nod from someone you vaguely recognize. I don't know you, but yeah, okay, hey, how's it going? And then across the way, on the far edge of the room, where normally there would be a raised portion, a raised stage of some sort to differentiate the leaders from those who are not. There's Baron Stevens. And while normally in a situation such as this, those in power have a distance between them and the act of actual rabble, she doesn't. Her guards are around the room. They're mixing and mingling with the various coteries, stopping to have conversations, and you can hear the subtle, quiet murmur of dead voices speaking at a volume designed to not be rude, which is interesting in of itself. Most times anarchs don't care about such things, but they're mixing and mingling amongst themselves. You can see battle lines of sorts being drawn, units forming up, social units of course, but still units, and that soldier's mind, that soldier's eye is playing havoc with you because you can see it. You, on the far back of the room, there's Alicia, the highest ranking Toreador in Gary, the highest ranking alternative to Baron Stevens. And unlike Baron Stevens, she has a veritable bankhead around her. And she's quietly and demurely smiling here and there. And on her left is a dark-haired woman who looks the sort to be a mafia princess. She's dressed in a dark pinstripe suit. She's got a bright light blue button-down collar spread across her lapels, and she's actually earnestly wearing a red carnation. Over her right and left shoulders are men large enough to be considered walls unto themselves. And circling around them in a soft circle are several other individuals equally large and equally cut from central casting of what muscle could be. And you see that the room is splitting. Social groups moving closer to her, moving closer to the Baron.
What was the Toreador's name again? I'm sorry.
Alicia.
Okay.
The child of Modius. For a very long time, she was the banner to which Juggler and the previous Anarch movement circled around. Juggler was her rescuer from all the predations of Modius. Juggler, the Baron of Gary. Juggler, the head bully boy and bright partier of Gary, believing in personal agency and freedoms, even though he was willing to use a kept childer as a clarion call.
I mean, Nikki's going to continue to just meet and greet everybody, but she's going to take stock into the divide that is forming. She kind of mockingly sighs at it, but she's just going to just keep on being sociable.
Okay, do me a favor, go ahead and roll your charisma and either etiquette or subterfuge. And while that roll is happening, back at Devil's Den, drinks and offers of aperitifs being carried out, everyone supping and sipping their fill, save for Belial himself, as he watches Haley receive the fruitiest, tallest aperitif that is on the menu. It is a hurricane glass filled with 2 umbrellas, and it is a cross-pollination of a Sex on the Beach and a Long Island iced tea. It is sugar and alcohol filled nearly to the brim with bright colors and several rings leading up the glass. And they're very useless and not necessarily completely hygienic overabundance of fruit. There's maraschino cherries and sliced oranges and lemons. There's a couple of limes, and they're all curly cues and squiggles and all sorts of bright festive things sitting there. And then the piece de resistance, as it gets closer, the waitress lights the sparkler and sticks it down the extra straw so it sits there, sparkles and zips and zaps, and it is a show unto itself.
So, Renaya, I guess, was ordering her drink. She would have gone with something much simpler, but like probably a Tres Hermanos because it's the rocks tequila, and she would have told the waitress, I'll drink whatever he's sending over if he comes to have a drink with me.
Sure thing, honey. And like the decently paid service member of hospitality that they are, they make their way to the bar, they place the order for the drink, and you can see them moments later whispering into Bellio's ear and pointing towards you, and then back to get the drink from the bar. As you watch the revelers of the evening, as you watch the two faces that stand out for you because they are frequent guests, though you know them as being same as you are, dead completely to the world. And despite all of your sire, Angelique's misgivings about the quality of people and keeping, whether we like them or not, we must be a good host. All of those many small moments of cattishness that she has. Any port in the storm. And as the waitress informs you that Anaya will take whatever you offer, provided you have a drink with her. What is it that you all do?
I'm going to make my way over to the bar and reach over it to make myself an old-fashioned. And I will personally take her drink to her.
When he brings the drink over, she smiles at him. No need to be shy over there. I know you're the man of the hour, owning this lovely place. I've come by plenty of times. Sure you know that.
As much as I appreciate being man of the hour, I don't appreciate being such short-lived, if you would. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Just trying to, I guess, fortify my system before we have to go to that thing tonight.
Surprised you haven't left yet. I was about to head out myself.
Oh, I don't like wasting a drink, so I think I'll have this drink and then we can head out.
Bell takes a sip of his old-fashioned and sits down beside her, kind of leaning back and turning to watch the rest of the people at the bar. He seems kind of on edge, tense. His shoulders are straight and his back is straight, and he seems rather uncomfortable.
I don't know, you seem to know something I don't with the way you're sitting. I'm a people person. I tend to read people a little bit, so maybe, I don't know, there's something going on that I don't know about. This is my first time kind of going to one of these things, so, you know, I don't know how the whole thing works.
Actually, it's my first time too, and that I don't know anything is actually why I'm so anxious. I was actually hoping you were able to fill me in on what to expect, but it seems like we're both left in the dark. Is
that having something to do with your she means in close so that nobody overhears. Your sire? Or... Because mine just kind of left me a note, and I never actually met them like that, I guess. I was alive, and then I wasn't anymore.
If we're going to talk about this, maybe we should head upstairs to a more private setting. Stuff like sire, I'm sure you can say out loud and nobody's going to give two shits, but when you talk about taking a long nap, that's a bit of an issue down here.
How about we do that in the car? Because we should probably get going. We should also grab Homegirl over there, even though she looks like she's having a bit of fun.
Are you going to grab her, or am I? Or are we going to team up on her? Maybe take her by surprise.
That's a little weird, out of context, mind you, but I don't know, she looks kind of like a party girl. Maybe she'd be into that. And she gets up, smooths her top, and then, phone in hand, walks towards Haley.
Belle will sit and watch for a second, just kind of wondering to see how it'll go over.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Is always a well-known idiom and aphorism. It's an old chestnut that's trotted out to say that what you speak into the world will come into being. As you rise and smooth your clothing into place and make a presentable version of yourself to make the crossing to where Haley is mid-party. There's only one way to describe the woman that appears seemingly out of nowhere. There's only one way to describe the feeling that sweeps across the room. You are in the presence of royalty. You are in the presence of something angelic. Those of you seeking to resist or naturally fight against that, would you be so kind as to roll your composure plus either subterfuge or etiquette. It's the standard DC. For Belial, he knows Angelique like the back of his hand. He even though the dead don't dream, sees her when he closes his eyes. He understands that Angelique is a whirlwind of things unto herself. None of them being anywhere near subtle. Even when she doesn't attempt to put out wattage, she changes the ebb and flow of light in the room. It seems to stick and cling to her, as if it enjoys the touch of her. For nearly everyone else, this is as close to famous as they'll ever be. And she slips into the room and sidles up alongside of Haley, close enough that Haley can look up into those bright, beautiful, big green eyes and realize that, much like Haley herself, Angelique was clearly chosen for death by something avaricious of a natural beauty. It is clear that Angelique had been chosen for death because of that natural beauty in her style, as it were. Darling, it is such a pleasure to see another of us here. Would you be so kind as to send your pets along their way?
I suppose they were getting boring anyway. All right, you heard. Off you go then.
Mouths agape, still mid-joke, some toothy grin of some very bad idea dancing there in their faces. They sit staring up into Angelique's face and looking between her and Haley. And even though they look nothing alike, their heights are different, their weights are different, their figures are different. There is a instinctual similarity between them for these. There's a magnetism that Haley has, that Angelique has, that makes them in the moment believe, oh my God, is that who is
As they presumably start to leave, Haley will pat the seat next to her.
I would love to. And Angelique floats into the seat next to Haley, just as Anaya is a few steps from the table. And Angelique looks up towards Anaya and then looks across the room towards Belle, a light smile dancing on her lips. The inclination clear. It is time to have a small conversation in this little enclave.
Belle sighs and makes its way over.
Aren't we all supposed to be somewhere?
Yes. Yes, you all are. I, however, have business dealings elsewhere. Considering Gary is but one of my many homes, and I would not like to become engrossed and enmeshed in the local politics. However, I would like to make sure that the Devil's Den remains as inviolably free as it's possible. So, I'd hoped that the combined association of you fine kindred will assist my lovely Belle in making the best showing possible.
Wait, you mean I could just not go?
You could not just not go. After all, dear Haley, we know your last associations with the Mad Bomber. Your name is all over the streets. How is it that the kids say, oh, you're for the streets?
Sure.
It would be an insult. I'm sure Baron Stevens would make sure that your time was most unenjoyable if you don't make a showing, at least. After all, weren't you there when the assassination attempt was carried out on Alicia?
I think so.
Belle, dear, I recant most of what I said about our lovely Haley. And you, child, I, for the life of me, can't quite remember your name. I know I've seen your face. You are... She says towards Naya.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm Anaya. Kind of an influencer sort, you know.
I know you.
Yeah, I know you too. I've seen you around like a couple of times. I was just coming to get you because we gotta go to that thing, but it seems like the lady's already talking about that, so...
You've got a TikTok.
I don't see a watch on her presently, but I'm sure that she most assuredly would have one. Most people who use the clock on their phone these days, I understand. All the same, Belle, dear, these ladies, I'm sure, would be a fitting accompaniment to make a good showing in front of the Baron. The plan is always the same as always. Style, profile, redefine what taste actually means, and for the love of all things remotely decent in the world. Don't engage Tywin in anything. They are, after all, the competition. I will leave you all to your preparations to disembark. I have other things I need to tend to. Belle, don't frown. In these creases. And she slides away. And as she moves further away, the lights stop following her at a point, even though people are just now coming back to themselves. You see the effect that she has on people. And it's easy to know that someone like that would take for granted that you will do as she requests.
I think that's her cue to leave.
She don't know what TikTok is.
To be fair, I know what TikTok is, and I wish I didn't. Are we riding in the same car?
Sure, you can take my car. I mean, I don't mind. It's pretty big. I could fit all you guys in it.
I fit lots of places.
So then her car, we should probably get on the road. I'm gonna pull out my phone and try to see what time it is. It's an old flip phone.
What time does it start?
With travel time, you will be considerably a little bit later than fashionable.
We've got time for another drink, right?
No,
Sure.
get in the car.
When Anaya sees his flip phone, oh my god, that's so fucking retro. I love it.
I could take one for the road.
If it'll get you in the car, I'll give you one for the road.
I don't mean that sort of drink.
Right. Do you mind to show me where your car is?
Anaya leads them outside to her very, like you said, flashy champagne gold chrome G-Wagon.
Haley will follow, but she will stomp and flop her arms and throw a little tantrum.
Belle will open the door in the back and wait for Haley to climb in.
Waiting for things to happen is a standard affair for most entities, living, dead, and all the states in between. It is no more comfortable for the dead than for the living. And as Nikki keeps an eye on the gathered here, it is clear that there are more kindred either directly in Gary or that a lot of these faces are not locals. Gary's not devoid of kindred presence. In fact, it's just the opposite. There have always been more kindred in and around Gary than the population should be able to tolerate. For many years, it was because the depot itself was in operation. That huge conglomeration of physical black market and blood dealers in the area. As far as such things go, the blood dealers of the depot, the Acampo, Castiglione, and Torrey families had a lease or a subcontract with the Blood Czar of the Midwest, Sephora. Her agents and officers flew in and flew out of the area. The Castiglione and Torreys and the Acampo were responsible for managing the depot up until a few months ago when all of that went completely to hell. Since the depot closing, there's been a small shrinkage in the population of kindred present, yet this, looking out on the sea of faces around you, is an unparalleled explosion of kindred. There are more kindred present than you feel safe being around. Because while the promise of immortality is part and parcel of being killed into being a kindred, this many monsters in one place at one time is definitively the dry powder keg left near someone's glow stick, left near someone's sparkler. There are firecrackers going off all around this dry powder keg. It is hard not feeling that presence of danger. It is hard not getting caught up in the fact that this is as precarious of a situation as you have almost ever been in, including all of the hell that you experienced in Walkerton, including all of the danger that you experienced palling around with Leonetti and Lasky and Gigi. This is very much their sort of situation. This is very much the chickens of their farm coming home to roost. It's what it feels like. You just got free of all of that. You are allowed to disappear into nothingness. You are allowed to be just a shop owner. And here in this moment, it very much feels, even though you know you're not the source of anyone's attention, like you're on a stage, like people are paying attention. There's no shadows deep enough or dark enough for you to hide in. So, Nikki, coasting along with those thoughts in mind, what is Nikki up to?
I mean, well, she's going to stay as long as socially relevant, but feeling the way she feels, she's gonna leave. I mean, she's not gonna be rude or anything. She's just like, basically she has things to do with her shop and whatnot. That she hates to cut her visit short. But yeah, she's gonna leave. But like I said, she's going to be polite about it.
And being polite about it means what?
Well, I mean, just basically just letting the people know, know that she enjoyed her time, and but she must regretfully leave.
So she cuts through the bullshit and begins making her way towards Baron Stevens, the Baron Harry, the head poobah of this loyal order of water buffalo that are the Anarchs of Gary. Since seizing power and the foundation of the meritocracy being put into place, it is all about civic duty. It's all about social conscience. It's all about giving to get. It's all about building a base of the city working towards its goals, remaining independent, free, and unfettered and unbothered by the might of the capital city, the Camarilla. Literally less than an hour and a half away. Chicago is, you could see it if you go to the lakefront. You can look across the lake and see the twinkling bright lights of Chicago. Its presence is everywhere. And if the Anarchs of Gary don't band together and don't pull in the right direction, once more, the tower will place its foot on the throat of Gary. This time you are sure they will finish the job. So as you cross the distance and excuse yourself and gently nudge your way into the close proximity of the Baron to beg your leave, she smiles. She glances towards you once and then finishes the conversation with a tall, muscular woman wearing biker leathers and a bandana. Whatever they were discussing, drawn to an almost immediate close, and off she moves back through the crowd. As she is moving away from the Baron looks you dead in the eye. And the room grows a few degrees cool. Why, hi there, Miss Sin. How are things treating you? And it's been a very long time since you and your coterie decided to show face. Not something that I said, is it?
Well, of course not, darling. You look marvelous this evening. No, it's merely that I have my business to run.
Your business, the same business that was jeopardized by your coterie, that I made sure that you moving all of the investigations, the fires, now.
Yes, it's the same business, and I am grateful for your assistance.
We need to discuss how Gigi sacrificed, misguided though it was in trying to assassinate Alicia, how that could be repaired. Well, I'm very appreciative that you all were willing to go so far to uphold our agreement. Tonight should be a night to pull the wool back from everyone's eyes. Because after all, only with us working together, only with us all pulling in the same direction, will we have an opportunity to maintain what little bit we have and potentially gain more, right?
Of course. What is it that I can do for you, Baron?
Oh, there's a lot that each of us can do. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of deciding to act. It's a matter of investment and involvement. Because while it takes a village to raise a child, it takes every hand of every able individual to maintain the village. And we have problems that need to be addressed. We have things that need to be accounted for. We have decisions that we need to make. We're merely waiting for a few stragglers to begin. And she points towards the back room, as it were. There's a steel door on the opposite side, and you've seen a few people entering and exiting. Now, Kindred don't need to use facilities in regards of restrooms and the like, so them entering and exiting struck you as a little odd, but it is what it is. If you are feeling a bit peckish, Salacious has been kind enough to loan us the use of some of their donuts. I'm sure that there is something or someone that might scratch that itch for you. Feel free to take part of the hospitality as a upstanding member. Gary.
As always, very appreciated. Baron? If I find something that strikes my fancy, I will partake.
Excellent. Sure that your patience and understanding as to what we need to discuss will stave off any need. And I'm sure your shop, your tattoo parlor, if I'm not mistaken, correct, will be fully operational and maintain its standing without any incidental, accidental harm falling upon it in these few small moments of your being away. Right?
Of course, I do have a very capable staff.
Excellent. You love to see it. And then she looks past you to the gentleman who's standing over your shoulder and kind of nervously moving back and forth, foot to foot, trying to get her attention. Excuse me a second, Miss Sin. I'll be with you. Make yourself at home, enjoy the aperitifs, and we'll begin shortly. And she moves past you, and they begin having a conversation. Speaking of conversation, drive over on the drive from the Devil's Den towards the Inland Steel where the Anarchs are meeting. Is there any conversation with the car? Is there any exchange of information? Is there something you all are hoping to work out between you? Because the drive is still, the drive.
I would like to try to roll premonition.
And you know Haley, she talks the whole way without saying anything.
Girl, you are a positive, I don't know how all this stuff works. I mean, I've only, since we're by ourselves in the car and there are no living people, I've only been this way for 3 years. My sire found me one night, I guess, and decided to do what they do, and then I woke up in my apartment by myself with a note that said there are others like us, seek us out, and I wanted you to be able to complete your life's work and weird shit like that. It was really confusing. So I don't know, I've just been trying to live life how it is, I guess.
Right, samesies.
I'm sorry, you said 3 years? That's new to you?
I mean, it's pretty new. I've met some of us who've been around for decades. They're super old.
Oh, I'm never gonna learn all this shit, am I?
I'm well, how new are you?
Sometimes you just gotta fake it till you make it.
I am not comfortable saying just how new I am. Just know that I am very, very fresh.
Is that why your mom was still here? Is that lady your mom?
Okay, don't call her my mom, please. That is my sire.
Right, and sires are generally assholes. Like geese. Do you think geese think each other are assholes?
I would hope so.
Probably, because even other assholes. So I don't know. I guess what I do know about tonight, what people are saying on the street, as it were, I guess. What they're saying is that we have to talk to this Baron lady and tell her how we can help her or something, and swear out loyalty. And
right, that's kind of the worst part of all this. You get to live forever and have fun and do pretty much whatever you want. And then some boomer comes in and says, no, you can't do what you want. You have to do what I want. And it's no fun. I don't like it.
Man.
It's like suddenly everyone is your sire.
That's fucked up. All because they're stronger than you or something?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I don't know. I guess I've kind of learned that I'm okay living like this, but I don't want to give it up or nothing, so I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. It's kind of like when you make a deal with a brand and they want you to say shit that's not true. Typically, I don't like doing that, but sometimes the money is worth it.
Sounds a lot like work.
It's all work.
Exactly. It's better than getting one of those weird 9-to-5 jobs. I used to drive a city bus. This is much better.
That's pretty cringe.
And the moment you say you used to drive a bus, and here comes in with pretty cringe, Michael Belial's eyes roll in the back of his head. It looks as if he's being possessed by the spirit of Ebenezer Scrooge's good friend, Jacob Marley. It looks as if he is in the middle of a grand mal seizure. His eyes disappear, the dark brown of them fade into a cataract version of themselves. It's a stiffening of the limbs. His face goes completely rigid. While that's happening on the exterior of him,
We knock on top.
and while that's happening on the exterior of him, and while the world spins past him, Michael sees a vision of himself. He sees the crown that he normally has when making the presentation and the showing at the Devil's Den, slowly floating above his head. He sees a well-dressed police officer. That's the best way he can approximate that tailored suit that still leaves room for a firearm to be brandished. It's a classy suit, and it's clear that it's been tailored, but it is not the cutting edge of fashion. The dark skin, the slicked back hair that brushes against his shoulders, the glint in his eye as he fixates and focuses on Belial himself, but not Belial as he is, as he was. You see around him a older male, both arms crossed across his chest, and then a younger version of that self-same male in a similar situation in a shipping crate. You see a heart being torn to pieces, and while the blood spurts and dances across your vision, every piece that lands against the ground becomes paper, which ignites. And as it ignites, there's a trail of it that leads forward through the steel mills of the city, tearing through the neighborhoods and driving people into the lake itself. You see shadows bubbling and growing up out of Lake Michigan, reaching across the city, connecting with other shadows across the border in Illinois, forming a dark, overcast, umbrella-like substance over the city. And then through it all, running right up through the middle, is this huge bear-sized warthog. Its razor back, all of its hair standing on end, its tusks coated in blood, and the only thing keeping it from overrunning the city are several crowns. There's a copper one, there's a goldish one, there's one made out of some dark wood, some ebony of some sort, and then there's shadows all around it. You're not sure exactly what those shadows are supposed to signify. You do get the immediate feeling that there's a pack of some Canaan, some wild, angry Canaan, just waiting for you to look into, to pounce. And then dancing through all of this maelstrom of myriad ideas is a long-legged, blonde mime with vampire fame. In this way and that way, the mime tilts and twists, and it comes for you. As it gets closer, its face splits down the middle. The vampire fade, growing in length, as if it's some modern version of some saber-toothed cat. And where the seam is between both halves of its face, there's another shimmering, grubby, chin-strapped, bearded individual oozing forward. And just as they touch you, you're back in the vehicle. You're back in the car.
You all right, mate? We need to get you a medic.
I don't even think we'd go to hospitals. I think I'd fail the EKG. Holy fuck. Belle leans forward and kind of rests his head on his hand, and seems kind of shaken lightly. He doesn't seem to have fully understood what happened or how to interpret it.
Like, when you were alive, did you get seizures or something? Is that what that is? Like, a leftover seizures? I didn't think we got sick.
Great. Seizures. I didn't know that was a perk.
Did you maybe get some bad narcotics?
I don't take narcotics. Are we almost there?
Anaya would have been driving, not to cause too much attention as far as speed-wise, but as quickly as she could go without causing that problem.
As you all merge off of the expressway, as you all merge right there onto Inland Steel Drive to head towards the roundabout, circle down and around and up Route 60 so that you can get to the location. You can see it there, just northeast of where you presently are. The lake rippling in the background, its waves lapping up against the bulwark there. And the vehicles, there's a veritable car lot of vehicles. There's SUVs, vans, and trucks, and motorcycles, and luxury vehicles mixed in with country squires. There's a huge confluence of a veritable forest of vehicles of every decade, stretching back to the early 50s.
That's a lot of people. Holy shit.
They're all supposed to be one of us.
Well, this is the address we all got, so I guess so.
That's a lot of a lot. I don't know that I would be missed.
I guess you wouldn't. I guess all the more reason to do a better job, huh?
You have a weird outlook.
I've been told that before.
I'm not really an achiever.
What's the point of trying if you're not going to shoot for the high score?
Right, exactly. What's the point of trying?
I mean, at least, like, show up and, like, let them see your face, because you're, like, cute and shit, so, like, why wouldn't you want to show off?
Because then they expect things of you, and then that's no fun.
That's where the fun of it begins for me.
As you all find your parking place and begin making your way in, are any of you skilled in larceny? Are any of you skilled in streetwise or firearms?
Everything but firearms.
I got 1 dot in streetwise, that's it.
I've got 3 in streetwise and 2 in firearms.
Alright, sounds like a plan. Well, that being the case, would you all be so kind as to roll your wits, and either of those skills, your DC is 4.
Does my specialty in drug supply?
If you have a contact in the black market, yes.
I have contacts in street level criminals.
Yes. It's a hell of a showing. That's a lot of kindred. There's a lot of vehicles that you guys may have seen somewhere, sometime. Maybe that show that you were watching when the guy did the thing with the girl and the girl did the thing with the other guy, and then the guy did the. Maybe that. But it's a lot of kindred present. A lot of kindred in one place at one time, where everyone knew they would be. Everyone who's in the know, who has ears on the street, know where they are. You all make your way in, and it's clear that you are not nearly the only ones there. As you all walk in, no one's asking to frisk you, no one's asking for your ID, but it's clear that the people floating in and near the door are keeping track of such things. There's a very obvious head nod or a look aside, kind of side eye, and it passes amongst the crowd. Various members spread throughout. There's cliques here and cliques there. There's coteries there, and it is clear that sides are being formed. Kindred are standing closer to other kindred that they know. Kindred are moving further away from kindred that they don't. And little pockets are forming, little cults of personality throughout the entirety of the space. And then mingling towards the back of the room, across from the large steel door that you see several kindred moving in and out of, going through that door to the space behind and coming out, is Baron Stevens. Anyone and everyone who has any understanding of being dead knows who Baron Stevens is. Baron Stevens is the reason why the core of what the Anarch movement is has started shifting towards social responsibility, giving better the whole that you have the freedoms that you've earned. You've had the space to operate in your own world based on what you've earned by helping others, by helping the whole of it, by not being dog eat dog, by paying your wage of service. Everyone started calling it the meritocracy as of late. It has a certain connotation. And as you all enter, a smile drifts across her face, and she reaches back behind her, literally putting her hands on Nikki and pointing her towards you. Now, Haley has known the tattoo artist, knew of the tattoo artist. The tattoo artist was smart enough to make themselves scarce when Gigi decided to try to take out, oh yeah, there she is over in the corner. Alicia has a veritable army around her. There are men and women that look as if they are bovines, given the ability to walk bipedally. They are unliving walls of muscle. And standing next to her is the woman who threatened your life, your existence, all those many months ago. The woman who seems to be sponsoring Alicia's bid for recognizable power. And as far as Nikki, standing there left in the very real, subtle, sly remarks in regards to her business understanding, and Gary having the Baron put her hand on her and point her in a direction is a weird feeling. The last time Nikki saw the Baron put her hands on someone, it was when she nearly beat Lasky's face off. Knowing that those relatively soft and well manicured hands could be capable of such willful violence puts her in a unsure state, especially with the thrumming electricity of everyone's expectations as to when the other shoe would drop.
Well, actually, she can. There isn't much she can do right now. But what she's thinking basically is, oh.
Presuming that Haley sees Nikki, she will do as much of a realistic anime sort of bounce and wave at her.
Nikki smiles and waves back. But you can clearly see in her eyes that she's not really happy at the moment. She's surviving.
I'll know that one. That's Nikki.
Isn't that tattoo lady from that one shop? She's like really popular.
It is.
That's so cool. We are like everywhere, it seems, huh? And she kind of waves at Nikki too.
Kind of threatening when you think about it.
It so is, says Tywin as he eases along. What are we whispering about?
Things.
Things are so good. So, I don't know if you all have managed to stay inside of our boss lady's good graces, but there are, oh my god, Belial, you're looking dapper as ever. There are actual quality refreshments behind those doors, provided by Salacious, of course, at a huge discount, because we are, while not part of the movement, we do support Gary as a whole. Make sure you drink intelligently.
Now, I have a question here. What would my sire think of me partaking?
It'd be rude not to. The refreshments are offered, just like someone offering your mint. Whether you believe you need it or not, it would be rude not to take it.
Then absolutely. It would be an honor.
Excellent. So very kind of you. So just remember, quality donors are carefully curated at Salacious. And he moves into the crowd, mingling, smiling here, pointing there, glad handing his way around. And as he's doing that, you see Alicia's core cadre of members moving closer towards where Baron Stevens is. Once they start moving, and the murmurs are passing through the crowd, Baron Stevens gives a quick, all right, folks, I appreciate you all being here, and I know that many of us would much rather be anywhere and everywhere than in the midst of this pit of vipers that we call ourselves. But unlike the Tower, unlike Chicago, unlike what's happening over there in Dalton, we are not the Tower. We don't stand on that level of ceremony. But now that Baron Stravinsky's coterie has arrived, I think it's fair for us to begin. Anyone and everyone that is someone is here. Our first official inaugural rant. About damn time! Shut up!
I'd rather be at a rave.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody's asking why now, of all time. Everyone's wondering why we do what it is that we do. I've always felt that any semblance of government, the best forms of government, are invisible. We're here to serve. But here, we don't have that. We don't have elected officials. We don't have anyone demanding our respect and patronage. We are all here because we choose to be, for various reasons and for various influences. And yet, there's a need. Many of you all are unaware as to the white problems that we have been having. Many of you are unaware as to just how bad things got for us, the city as a whole. Many of you take for granted this idea of freedom. And that's fine and good. That is your choice. That's your prerogative. But here and now, I need you all to make a decision whether you actually are with us or not. There's no more half-assing things. There's no more having the use of our city. There's no more having the use of our kindness without paying your way. We need eyes on the street. We need those willing to rush towards the fire to keep us safe. We need those willing to volunteer their time to account for all of the efforts in maintaining your businesses, your havens, your retainers, your family members, your herds. And I'm not telling you all to leave, because after all, that is your prerogative. It always has been. But in light of everything that's happening with Theist, with Chicago, with Dalton, with Indianapolis breathing down our necks, you have to decide here and now. Vote with your feet. Are you in or are you out? If you leave now, know that you will be considered on the outs. You will no longer have the protection or assistance in keeping your businesses, your havens, your human herds and retainers safe. None of our resources will go towards you if none of your time and impetus goes towards us. And she begins looking amongst the crowd, letting that sit there before you all, either in or out. There's careful murmuring and looks aside, whisper here and man, fuck this shit over there, and no one actually begins to walk out yet, but it's clear that people are looking towards the door. And speaking of looking towards the door, it is 5 after the hour. Let's take it back up here at 15 after the hour. Alright folks, welcome back. Everybody here?
40.
Yep.
That was me.
Nikki?
Yes.
Ooh. Alright. So, diving back into the glorious, understated, and overstated speech, a declaration of what is moving forward from Baron Stevens. The pause allowing others to vote with their feet is a fairly short one. Their glances left and right, and a few murmurs, and some being elbowed into silence, others clearly tempted the whiffling and waffling, half moving towards the door or preparing to leave. And The others looking towards Baron. And then yet a third object slowly begins moving through the crowd. Individuals are looking towards Alicia, who's moving closer to Baron. Baron does what you should never do to a predator. She turns her back to Alicia and her cadre of security individuals and her body men and women straight from central casting of hired muscle, which Alicia is not pleased. She clears her throat and begins to raise her voice. Freedom has nothing to do with service, because after all, if we are all free, who is it that we might be serving? Are you attempting to be the second coming of Juggler or the second coming of Modius? The moment that she begins speaking, Baron Steven takes a very much unneeded breath, because the dead don't dream, the dead don't breathe. Baron Stevens, without turning, says, "Bitch, please, I'm being the first coming of myself. And if you got a problem with it, now's the time to air that shit out. Now's the time to speak up if you have anything at all to fucking say. Otherwise, the choice is simple. In or out. None of this half-ass sniping, spreading rumors, not willing to stand on whatever it is that you're saying." And through it all, through her little rant, she still does not turn to face Alicia, as if she is of no bother and no mind at all. Those of you with the streetwise of 2 or more immediately know that there is a fight in the offing. All of you all with an etiquette of 2 or more knows that even in the land of the blind, there's a way that things are seen. And Alicia speaking up, even in that little bit, is adding fuel to the fire that there's a schism within the most powerful members of the movement. Her willingness to speak up, to no longer be the silent doll of Modius, to no longer simply pay her way with money and influence amongst the few remaining elites in Gary, is a sign. In the midst of all of this, others are beginning to more directly take sides. What is it that you all are doing?
I'm watching with equal parts fascination and confusion. Bell seems to be trying to soak it all in and understand as much as he possibly can, but seems to be doing a very poor job of it.
Anaya kind of leans towards Haley. This looks like what a World Star moment looks like before it happens. You think they're gonna fight?
Probably. Last time I went to a thing that she was at, a friend of mine killed herself. Let's back up, shall we?
Girl, I am so sorry. That's tragic. And she does do what Haley suggested and kind of backs up just a hair because she don't want to be grabbed in the midst of all this.
Val isn't paying attention to the side conversation. Doesn't move. He seems pretty focused on what's happening up front.
Well, she's gonna stay where she's right next to Steve. I mean, she might give her a little space just in case, but I mean, she's basically gonna stay where she is.
In tense moments, time seems to slow down. Everyone, all of the witnesses for the traumas and dramas of life always say, things happen so fast. As their view grows more tunnel-like, as they focus in on potential threats, and they're more worried about small things that catch their eye. Someone yelling, someone frowning, or the fact that someone seemed to not be paying any attention whatsoever before things erupted into whatever chaos they were moving towards. The situation is much the same here and now. As Alicia stutters and stumbles for words, because very rarely has anyone not treated her as if she was a special flower. Very rarely has anyone not deferred to her based on her waifish, timeless beauty. Very rarely has anyone not considered her just a pretty face. And it's clear that in this moment, in this battle of presence, in this battle of personal magnetism, Baron Stevens didn't consider her much of anything at all in the moment. Maybe not ever. And voices are slowly beginning to grow around you all. The clamoring, the slight murmuring. And then it happens. A large man, standing nearly 6'6", 6'7", and every ounce of 300 plus pounds. His beard bright red, his hair a shock of fading shades and hues of red from a life clearly somewhere in the Celtic Isles. Moves forward past Anaya, moves forward past Haley, and all but nudges Belle aside as with each step he begins picking up pace, speed. People see it happening, they don't believe they see what they're seeing. Like, why is he rushing towards where Alicia and the Baron are? What is he? What's going on? What? And unfortunately for Nikki, standing where she is, nearly smack dab between where Alicia and her cadre is and where the Baron is, she sees this charging body, this huge man dressed in various shades of browns and greens. You didn't even think they made that sort of jacket anymore. And he's moving forward with such speed, it is clear that he intends on doing something with that. Is there anything you want?
Fall back while grabbing Baron Stevens, basically trying to get out the guy's way.
Thanks, I'm just going to go ahead and your strength, plus athletics for me. And while that's happening, Anaya, Haley, Belle, what is the fuel are doing?
Haley will say, "See, I told you," and get the hell out of the way.
Anaya's looking at Haley, watching her kind of beat feet, I guess, in a way, and then looks at Belle. I'm like, I mean, which one is he attacking? Because we shouldn't let him attack either of them, but, like, I guess we need to pick a side, right?
You said he tries to push past me, right?
Correct.
Is there any way I can try to prevent him from doing so?
Thanks, then. Go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl.
I'm guessing it is not clear at all who his target is. I mean, he's heading towards both of them, so it's hard to pick who he's going for.
Correct.
Yeah, I think Anaya is just kind of... Even though it seems that Belle's about to do something, she's kind of deferring to him, because Haley, again, is ducking up.
Bad tidings are had by all in situations where evil prospers. What that can be effectively viewed as a very long way around. Evil only prospers by the silence of good men and women, by persons not interceding, not calling it for what it is, not speaking the devil into existence so that it can be clearly defeated. In the moving and pushing through the crowd, the huge Celtic individual, the person with every undue intention of causing harm, surges forward. In their surge, Belle instinctively attempts to impede their path and is knocked aside, sending, scrambling, stumbling away. The murmurs of surprise and shock as he picks up speed and lowers his chin, changing in stride. Where there was a bipedal engine of destruction is suddenly a huge razorback warthog, its hair standing on end, its tusks bloody and long. It looks very much like the engine of destruction that would bring about the apocalypse. Its feet sounding as if there are just a multiplicity of Thor's hammers falling against the concrete beneath your feet, sending most close enough to reach out and grab him, scrabbling and falling away as he buries Tusk first into Baron Stevens and Nikki. An outcome of 3 plus strength, meaning that they each take 6 points of goring damage as he runs through them. 6 points of goring damage. The razor sharp tusk tearing away the dead flesh and moving through them as if they were made of paper mache. The mafioso standing next to Alicia immediately throws her arms around her, knocking her to the ground away from where the hog is attempting to continue savaging the Baron. Their body men moving around them, forming a turtle shell between them and the damage happening.
Okay, so once Anaya sees that was the target, she said, Belle, shit. They got fucking wild pigs in this bitch? But then she realizes she has to do something. And how far is it between where we were standing and the pig now? I guess safest way to attack a pig is from above.
So, what is everyone doing?
I would like to try to rush the pig and try to jump on its back and use my hand to kind of wrap around the edges of its tusk to prevent it from goring anyone else as I try to essentially
yeah, Anaya's gonna put her phone away and go wading in to help. Yeah, try to, I guess, like, break things up or get in between.
Haley has been told that she could potentially live forever, and she could potentially party forever. And she's high as fuck and no hero, so she will find a table to hide under or a closet to go in or something.
And Nikki?
I'm trying to get off this guy's tusk.
That being the case, with Belle and Anaya predominantly working together in this regards, would you all like to utilize your combined effort, or would you like to operate separately?
I'm fine with cooperation.
Yeah, combined efforts are probably better off.
All right. Who's doing the rolling for you two? Whoever's doing the rolling receives a +1. And it is a strength plus brawl maneuver.
Strength's high, but I don't have brawl, so I guess it depends on whose pool is naturally higher anyway.
I've got a pool of 5.
Then you beat me by 1 and you can have my 1 extra.
So, rolling together. Belle, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl +1. Haley, would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity plus athletics to dip, duck, dodge, and dive away from the crowd that is caught up in the moment. So I'm moving closer to the damage happening, wanting to see it happen. So I'm moving, trying to stop it from happening. Another's doing the opposite thing, moving away from it, moving as clear a path possible.
And can I rouse some blood for this?
Sure. And Nikki, a strength plus athletics to pull yourself and escape this mauling. Hey, does prove, mistress. And it laughs as they make plans. The crowd surging both against itself and upon itself, moving Haley against the wall, blocking you from diving underneath the table. As Kindred do what to them individually each seems the best thing. The lack of unity and unison ringing out in the sheer chaos of it. Nikki, realizing that this does not feel like the pain that she's dealt with previously, it is not something easily laughed off. This thing, this Kindred, this demon of hell has every intention of continuing to rip, tear, and shred as it tears free, ripping left and right, pulling back and away. On its back, you see Anaya and Belle, the owner of the strip club that is operate in counterpoint to Salacious, as they are attempting to wrestle this ungodly thing's strength. Belle is no lightweight when it comes to lifting and pushing and pulling and creating the opportunity of wonderfully supernatural displays of strength. One of the first things that she learned about being dead was there wasn't a limit to how much effort she can put into a thing. And this thing is managing to nearly shake both her and Belle free of itself as it continues attempting to place and plant its tusk through the Baron. The Baron is doing their absolute best, and you can hear how much effort is being put forth, the straining and tearing of undead muscles as it keeps the razorback from actually biting, even though the tusks are where most of the damage is coming in. You see inside the Baron's frame, ribs are poking through and bits of entrails have been torn free. Luckily for the Baron, death removes the bulk of the splatter. Death has removed the bulk of the liquid mass that would be all over the place, and the scent of rotting innards, but just barely so. The vitae close enough to the surface to seem like blood. The pain all but clear on their faces as they grit their teeth and attempt to kick and pull and pry and force the teeth from not connecting. And even caught up as you are, focused as you all are on keeping this thing from continuing to savage Nikki and Baron, you see Alicia and her cadre pulling away and fighting through the crowd to escape. As the Razorback gets the Baron up into the air and you all throwing off its aim by just a degree, the jig is mostly up. You realize that you weren't alone in trying to impede its path of damage. Several other kindred leaping forward, some with knives and switchblades, some attempting to snarl and claw at its bulletproof hide. Realizing that the jig is mostly up, the Razorback turns on its heel and begins running, tearing through the crowd to escape. You have a choice to make. Will you continue your kindred rodeo? Will you seek and see to those injured? Will you attempt to bring it down? Will you continue battling powers infernal?
Can you remind me of the state of the Baron?
In a word, fucked.
Does it look like she'll live?
Well, she's not alive to begin with, but is there a potentiality that the Baron will survive the night, the day? It is anyone's guess. Looking at Nikki with 6 points of damage to them. There are portions of Nikki that seem to have been obliterated. And with Nikki's tattoos, the artwork looks like a torn canvas, except the canvas is the entirety of their being. The Baron is 2 shades farther down that path towards terminal velocity.
With
Knowing-
it trying,
Go on.
with it obviously trying to get away, that was basically what Anaya wanted to do, get it to stop. So since it's leaving on its own, she has no inclination to chase it. She wants to see if she can help save the Baron.
Knowing what I know from movies and other media, I assume blood would help in a situation like this. So I'm going to make my way towards the donors and try to bring them towards the Baron. And Nikki.
Haley, Rock, Hard Place, Sela, Charybdis, the frying pan of the fire. That thing, that monstrous boar from hell, is breaking free and attempting to flee out of the space. Depressive bodies and kindred moving away and moving towards and trying to, in all discongruent confusion, acting as impediments to your path of escape. What is it that Haley is doing?
Being pressed against the wall, I'm not really sure. If there's someone she can persuade to save her, with or without using a discipline, that would be her first choice.
Roll your charisma and either persuasion or manipulation and subterfuge to get them to act against their own better interests and throw themselves in the path of what's coming towards you. Chaos, the violence, the sheer harm heading your direction. Belle, you making your attempt to cross the path of all of these kindred moving towards some trying to chase after the warthog. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength and athletics. Anaya, as you're attempting to tend to the Baron, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence plus either occult or medicine? And Nikki, having seen the sky rush towards you, the ceiling above your head seemed to be crashing against you as it tore through you and the Baron and made a mockery and a mess of what you are. What are you attempting to do? How are you attempting to move past this moment? Because there is, in a matter of a blink of an eye, it did more damage to you than you have ever had to happen at a singular instance.
Real quick, will my looks merit apply to this manipulation subterfuge?
Yes.
She's going to try to repair. She's going to just try to close herself up good enough so she can function, and she'll see about anyone else who needs medical attention. Well, primarily Baron Stevens.
Okay. There's no real role for that. As you're attempting to mend, that's going to make you need to make your rouse rolls to have the Vitae do what it does, which is reknit the flesh, create flesh out of itself, and otherwise disguise all the traumas of your existence as a member of the dead of the world. Belle manages in a way that is wholly unworldly to blend and move and dip and dodge through the path towards the donors. Anaya, crouching over and all but protecting the Baron with her body as Nikki lays half a foot further away, attempting to mend, and the hunger wafting off of her is hot enough that you can begin to feel the flesh closing on itself. You can hear it, that slick, slightly moist crunch of flesh and bone and marrow joining itself, mixing with the vitae that's flowing from Nikki like a fountain. Dead though the Baron is, dead though each and every one of you are, there are certain facets and facts that play a part. What's inside needs to stay inside, and what's outside needs to stay outside in its most simplest form. That thing violated that rule and understanding. You've seen kindred horribly and grievously wounded before. You've seen people in similar states. Driving a bus, you see all sorts of things in Gary. There was the instance where you were near the end of your line and had to hold one of your riders' skull in place till the police arrived with an ambulance, because the ambulance would not get to you without a police escort. This is much that same. You know that it's futile, yet some portion of you refuses to give up. Some portion of you refuses to accept the way things are. This is a grievous wound, and this was a clear-cut assassination. This was a clear-cut, purposeful action. I'm looking down at the handiwork of that thing, of that kindred. It is clear that they were either money well spent or underpaid. And just as that is settling in, as you look down on the Baron, as Nikki is knitting few feet away, inches away, and Belle is nearly through the door to where the donors are. Behind that steel door, Haley, in the midst of all of this chaos, manages to inspire bravery as the woman next to her rolls her shoulder and pushes Haley out of the way and attempts to stop the rampaging warhawk by catching hold of its tusk and breaking its neck. She's seen it happen on movies and shows and TVs and cartoons, and she's always wanting to be the better version of herself. And here's her opportunity. So she pushes him. She lunges forward, using all of the undead strength given to her. And her reward is being driven through the door behind her. Metal door knocked off its hinges, the tusk and teeth of this thing tearing through her as 5, 6, 7 other kindred go chasing out behind it as it takes off and runs northeast towards the water, towards the lake. In a blink of an eye, things change. Spell returns with donors as Anaya holds on, as Nikki, flesh mending and the beast peeking out around the edges, crawls closer to assist. There's a cost of doing business. You gotta bet big to win big. And Stevens bet the farm. There's a moment where the end is clear. There's a moment where there's a before and an after. This is that moment for Baron Stevens. She rests her hand on Anaya. She looks up at Belle. She catches the eye of Nikki. And you can tell that it's an effort, even already dead as she is. And you know that it's over. There's not enough blood in the world to help with what's happened. It's a foregone conclusion. Watching a kindred die is never an easy thing. Watching anything die is never an easy thing. But right before your eyes, right beneath your hands, right beneath your hard efforts, you watch immortality fade into nothing. And as you all stand over the corpse of Baron, and those kindred running pell-mell, willy-nilly, chasing after the warthog, the razorback, and those kindred drawing close enough to be there when it happened, to watch it for their own reasons, either in mourning or in celebration, it is clear that what has been is firmly in the past, and what will be solely rests on the shoulders of those left to act. And on that note, thank you all for a lovely episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thanks all. Good night.